I'm back, baby. Here we are. And just like that, we're recapping and reviewing the original series of Sex and the City, you know, because we need to. And I had to take a little break from uploading. I'll explain in my epilogue why. But we are going to be reviewing now this episode for season 2, episode 5, Four Women and a Funeral. The funeral being Big is back. Big is back, and this is where I begin to notice the second black box in the Carrie, I'm a selfish little witch starting point. Because this is where the character herself, however they want to write it, has gone down that dark, dark rabbit hole of only thinking of herself, forgetting about her friends, only caring about the big obsession, and everything in between until the series of the reboot on Just Like That, where, she inevitably tells Miranda at some point in one of the seasons that she thinks that Big is a big mistake. And this is my point of contention. Because until that point, even after Big died in the first scene of the first episode of And Just Like That, not that I was rooting for them, I tolerated them. I figured they were the best couple. They belonged together. Okay. For all the wrong reasons, for all the reasons, I was like, all right, she wants Big. Got it. She got him. Got it. She messed up. He still wants to be with her. Got it. Two peas in a pot. Right? Until she tells Miranda she thinks that Big was a big mistake and that she wanted to be with Aiden. Now when I rewatch this, it annoys the crap out of me knowing how this will inevitably turn out. This enormous obsession she has, how they wrote her, to be completely enveloped with the whole Big storyline. That's why. It's not that I don't like the character, which, he's not great. Not that I don't like the actor. I don't know him personally. You don't know how I feel about SJP. But this is where it starts. Because for most of us, and Just Like That, when we were watching it and we were reviewing it, hate watching, sad watching, shock watching, whatever the hell you want to call it, a lot of people really noticed and pointed out how bad the character Carrie had become throughout most of the episodes in the reboot and in the movies as well. Some pointed out in the original series. I think I got the starting point because Big is back. So, season 2, episode 5, Four Women and a Funeral. Stay tuned. Four Women and a Funeral. The scene opens with Carrie narrating that she is going to be attending one of her friends' funeral, a fashion person named Javier, who passed away suddenly from substance abuse, and a Cuban. And she said his name is Javier, but she knew him since his name was Harvey. Okay. As she's narrating her minutia, we have the door knocking of our wonderful, beautiful Samantha. She runs over to open the door, and in comes Samantha in a light blue outfit with a hat to boot. And Carrie's like, don't you think that's a little inappropriate to be going to a funeral wearing his latest fashion? And of course, Samantha's like, honey, it's wrong not to, especially at $2,000. Carrie is shocked. She's like, $2,000. She goes, up 30% since he's passed away. First of all, wow. Now, it's not to say that I haven't seen that. It's just, wow. For one outfit, again, it's because I don't have money, and I can't tell you that if I had money, I would spend $2,000 on an outfit, but it has to be one hell of an outfit. I need to be able to pair it, separate it. It needs to be on an ensemble that I can mix and match wherever and whenever I need. That is not a mix and match ensemble. Okay? So The whole point of Samantha wanting to go to this funeral is because there's going to be a lot of popular people there that she's going to be able to parlay or, leverage her PR. Leave it to Samantha to be truthful. And Carrie's like, this is a funeral, not a night at Bond Street. Okay. As they're trying to walk out the door, Charlotte shows up, appropriately dressed for a funeral, so we think. And, Samantha's offended because she's like, is everybody invited to this party? Obviously, Carrie's like, well, she's coming as my plus one. And Samantha's like, you had a plus one? I don't recall Samantha being friends with Harvey or Javier, but okay. And Charlotte points out that outfit is inappropriate as well for a funeral. Samantha doesn't care, which is why I love her. As we pan into the funeral, then Carrie's like, apparently we're the ones who were inappropriately dressed because they were the only two dressed in a funeral garments and everybody else was wearing Javier's latest spring collection. So I took a look at the collection and yeah, not my taste, a little gaudy, but apparently it was his best showing ever. Did I mention that this was written by Jenny Bix again? This is another episode written by Jenny Bix. I am going to, in my next video, take a look before I get on camera, how many episodes she actually wrote versus Darren Star and Michael Patrick King. Because there is definitely a different vibe when she writes these things. And I don't think she's gotten a lot of credit because she has some great puns. And I think we're going to have to figure out how many of the good ones that we enjoyed were actually written by her versus the other two males that are on the show. Because she was kind of funny in this one too, when she makes these little pun innuendos kind of scenarios. Okay. As Carrie realizes that she's inappropriately dressed and her heels are sinking into the ground for a funeral outside in the grass. She decides that she's going to smoke a cigarette. And Samantha's like, are you smoking a cigarette at a funeral? And she's like, Javier would have wanted me to. Okay. So it's time for the eulogy. And we get this one, Javier's sister, Josefina, who is their take on Donatella Versace. Because apparently, just about a week ago, she was an ugly duckling. And now the work that she had done on her, which I don't know what that means because we don't know what she looked like before, she is now equivalent to Donatella Versace because she is also going to be the heir apparent to Javier, her brother. Fashion fortune, for lack of a better word. She is claiming that she wants to raise money for Javier's house, whereas she wants to raise these funds in order to provide housing for other fashion elites who suffer through substance abuse. Samantha is more excited about the fact that she is not only going to help Josefina, she is actually going to also get every unlisted 212 number if she actually is able to figure out how to do it with Josefina. Got it. Charlotte wants Samantha's hat because she feels out of place at the very minimum because she's the only one that's dressed in between her and Carrie dressed somewhat appropriate. Begrudgingly, Samantha gives her her hat. And as we are looking at Samantha, who is going to be going up to Josefina to give her her PR assistance for Javier's house, the wind blows. The wind blows so much that it blows Charlotte's hat right off her head, conveniently all the way to the other side of the graveyard at a gravestone. And then we're introduced to this guy. This is the one that pissed me off. Okay? As she runs over with her heels, she picks up the hat and apologizes. And he says, oh, no problem. She loved hats. Now, I know this guy is hamming it up, okay? And I'll explain a little bit later why it pissed me off even more. Charlotte is like, is that your mother? if you would have looked at the dates, you could have figured out that that was not his mother. But we'll pretend we didn't see that. And he says, no, it's my wife. Oh, I'm so sorry. And he's like, it's okay. She turns around, kids? And he says, nope. I swear to God, I could see the wheels turning in Charlotte's head that this is the man that she's going to marry. Again. I'm going to tell you this. I am so happy Charlotte did find her man, because this back and forth between her looseness, because she does get a little loosey-goosey, and her quest to be married was exhausting. Exhausting. Next up, Charlotte's proclamation of how ethereal this meeting was, and Samantha's proclamation of how physical she will get to get the funds for Javier's house. They do. Charlotte's rendition of what romance is. We are now in the limo coming back from the Javier funeral, and Charlotte is letting the girls know that funeral guy, or dead man walking wife guy, I don't know, I haven't figured out the pun with him yet, idiot, has invited her for drinks, and Charlotte is just going on and on about that he works down the street from her gallery and he went to Princeton. How do you find all this out at a grave? All questions that I would ask. Said no one ever. Samantha is saying that the dead wife factor is a no-no. Of course, Charlotte doesn't understand why. And Samantha's rendition is because she's dead and you're the biatch that cannot live up to her. So no matter what you do, you're always going to be in the wrong. Paraphrasing the last part. And poor Charlotte is like, it's not his fault that she died. And of course, Samantha's like, and it begins. I've never dated a widower, so I don't know. I find that little statement very interesting. I'm sure it's plausible. If you've dated a widower or you got married to a widower, let me know if any of that resonated with you. Little sad. So Carrie is going on and on about the fact that, Charlotte is going on and on about the fact that I think that when someone goes through that, it makes them more sensitive. And that, he is not afraid of commitment because he's been married. And Samantha is like, yeah, see, you should date someone that's divorced because everyone's still alive. I love her. And poor Carrie is smoking a cigarette in a limo. Again, she says that marriage, all it did to Big was make him not want to commit. I should have known then that was when Big was coming back. Mm-hmm. Charlotte is like, Carrie, you broke up with him. And Carrie's like, well, what does that mean? That I'm afraid of commitment? Yes. Yes, it is. And we know this because of it just like that. Aiden. 4 times. Yeah, I'm going to say 4. Maybe 3.5. I'm going to count the movie as a half. Mm-hmm. Regardless of that she married Big or not, that wasn't the problem. Because she didn't marry Big because she loved him. She married because she was obsessed with this man. Mm-hmm. He was a big mistake. Remember? I remember. Mm-hmm. So now we are going into Miranda. Miranda, it didn't go to the funeral apparently, but she is now apartment touring with the broker, and the broker's like, so it's just you? Another part of this damn episode that pissed me off too. Because I felt like I was back in the 1950s. I'll explain later. So Miranda's like, yeah, just me. She goes, well, it's such a big place for someone just like you. And Miranda's like, I have a lot of shoes. Do you? Do you? Do you? A lot of shoes is what Carrie has. So as she's walking around the apartment, which, by the way, one of my favorite places. I'm going to say tier list. Charlotte's apartment when she got it from her first husband was top tier, very expensive. This one that she inevitably moves into. My second one, I love the light. I love the fireplace. I don't think it was working fireplace, but I did like the structure. And then Carrie's apartment. I don't know what Samantha's apartment looks like. I don't believe that she had one. I believe she was renting a room because we never see from the original apartment that she was in other than her boudoir. So let's go with that. So as Miranda's walking around and this woman is just looking at her, well, I have a son. And she's like, no, thank you. She gracefully and happily says, I'll take it. I'm so proud of her. It really is a big, big step and a big move. That place was huge if you really look at it. Now we get into one of the reasons why Samantha's role irritates me at times when she shouldn't be doing this regardless of her addiction to sex. She is trying to raise money for the Javier house and she's meeting this guy, Richard Cromwell, a senior partner at Bear Stearns, very big company. And she's flirting and he's flirting. And they mentioned that he is a philanthropist. Ooh, I cannot pronounce that word. Philanthropist. I'm not perfect. I'm not AI. And a playboy. Okay. Playboy indicates to me that he be single. I'm going to have to rethink that word. It irritates me that I cannot pronounce it. That and a Lululemon. Those are two words I cannot pronounce. Don't judge me. He is enthralled by the beauty of Samantha. And he says, I would like to take you out, something like that. And she says, would you like to please be on the Javier House committee? And he's like, I really don't do that, but I would do drinks. Call me Dick. And of course, that leads Samantha into the rabbit hole of Dick, because his name is Richard. And all of a sudden, he starts grabbing at her and throws himself on top of her on the couch, which she is more than willing to take. And all of a sudden, this one walks in who happens to be his wife. Where from Playboy did we get the wife? No entiendo. Because if you're a Playboy, should you not be married? Of course, she's a little perturbed. Samantha has to leave with her skirt down and walks out. So I was very, very concerned and confused that you use that term when you have a married man. And the fact that Samantha dates married men, when I say date, I use the term loosely. You know what I'm talking about. Is one of the things that I don't enjoy about Samantha. I don't mind her sescapades as long as everybody's single. And as long as she knows that they're single. Because not everybody who's single, they're single. It's just disrespectful. Whether it's a man doing it, a woman doing it, it doesn't matter. It's disrespectful. The next scene we have is Carrie's in her boudoir again, smoking a cigarette, contemplating about how much time we have. Because in a world in New York City where they give you the Sunday paper on Saturday, I remember that. I remember looking forward to the Sunday paper on Saturdays. So I love that little throwback. She is narrating that she has so much things left to do. She has never been to Greece. She hasn't finished painting her bathroom, which, by the way, her walls are still gray. I'm telling you, I swear to God, I remember her walls being white. I guess it never changes. And that her visa bill has not been paid off fully. I don't believe for 1 second that she's paying it off at all. She decides to call Pig. He picks up. She tells him that she just came from it's just me, because everybody's just me. They don't give out names. I just came back from a funeral. And he's like, and you thought of me? Great line. So as she's rambling on about, hey, do you want to have dinner? He's like, I like to have dinner any old time. Who am I having dinner with? And she's like, me. He goes, well, then I'm going to have to check my schedule. The banter between them was hilarious. So he decides that he is going to take her out somewhere. I forgot. Roberto's, I want to say. Be there on Saturday. Be there or be square. And she says, God, you're old. Did you just figure that out? As they hang up, she says, just like that, not and just like that. Just like that. Let's be clear what she said. She resuscitated a relationship that she's tried to avoid or broke up 6 months ago. So we have a timeline. It's been 6 months since they broke up and they haven't spoken. And she's resuscitating this relationship against our will. So now we get to see what does this resuscitation turns out to be. Hell. Next up, we have the just you signing of the documents for poor Miranda when all she wants to do is buy an apartment. We go back to the 1950s, so come with me. Join me. They don't. Philanthropist. You see, I told you I was going to get the pronunciation right. It really irks me when I cannot pronounce words properly. It will happen again. You're just going to have to bear with me. Now we get into poor Miranda trying to close on her unit or apartment. I should say apartment. She's at the closing table with this guy who is telling her, so it's just you? She's like, just me. Check the single woman box. As she's checking off the box, he fumbles through some paperwork. So the down payment is coming from your father? Miranda looks up again. She goes, no, just me. Check the single woman box. She checks it off again, and you hear Carrie narrating that within a span of an hour, Miranda checked off more single woman boxes than her own gynecologist. Freaking hilarious. Jenny, I'm watching you. You got some good one-liners. I like it. I'm going to keep following to see how many of these episodes you've actually created. It was freaking good, okay? The next scene we have is that they're all at a restaurant, all the ladies together, which is the favorite part of this entire series, always and forever. And poor Miranda is complaining that if she was a single man, this wouldn't have happened to her. And I have to agree. Now, this isn't back in 1999. I didn't buy my house with my husband probably another 5 years into 2000. So I don't remember if this was still an issue about women being able to afford their own places. I do remember at that time thinking, wow, that's really personal. I felt then and I feel now that it was not as progressive back then as it should have been. And I thought we were way past this already. I don't know why, but it didn't seem right. So one of the things that Samantha says that if you were a man, I would date you. I believe her. Single man. So one of the other things that Carrie says is that they're intimidated. Men are intimidated when, women can, not need them and afford their own places. And of course, Charlotte, it's like, everybody needs a man. Okay. And that's why she rents. Because if she were to own, the power structure would be completely off and it's emasculating. Samantha's like, did somebody order a Victorian straight up? And I'm like, I can't look at this at two different sides. Why? Because A, I'm a woman. B, I'm raising a boy. C, I can see where some of this is going, but it still feels really strange that A, everybody needs a man. First of all, what? I totally agree that everybody needs people. People who need people, This is Charlotte. What can I tell you? She says these things that make you think. And I really thought about it back then. And I'm like, okay, I do see the validity of being able to sustain yourself and be single. And if men are intimidated by that, then you shouldn't want to date them if you are intimidated by the fact that they're intimidated. That's why Charlotte winds up where she is and Miranda ends up where she is. It's the only thing I can equate it to, right? Because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. So as the bill comes in, Samantha takes out her, wallet and she opens up to pay for the credit card. The woman takes the card. And as they're speaking, I guess the head maitre d' woman comes in and tells Samantha, I'm sorry, your card is not accepted here. And Samantha very quickly says, that's not possible. Check again. And I'm thinking, if that was me, I would be saying, yeah, that's possible. Because I don't have money. Not back then. I would be like, oh crap. I forgot to pay my bill. But I love the confidence that Samantha gets. She goes, no, honey, that's not possible. I'm like, yeah, girl. Yeah, baby. The woman says, no, I think you misunderstood. Neither your card or you are accepted here. Oh boy. Richard Cramrell's wife, the dick, has taken out a social hit on Samantha. And she was the biggest thing in New York City and the island of Manhattan. And she wanted Samantha off of it. This is the prequel to the cancel culture. So they have to leave the restaurant embarrassed. I guess she didn't pay the bill. I find that odd that they would allow them to eat without anybody paying the bill, because no one else took out a wallet to pay for anything, which I found that strange too. I'm like, so you just ate up whatever amount that they ate and not charged them? To me, that seems odd. That's like not business 101. Mm-hmm. Now we get into the date from the widower, the jerk off. Charlotte is having drinks with Ned, the widower, and as Carrie's narrating, that the ex-wife was not in the picture until he opens up his wallet forcefully and shows a picture of his wife as he's coyly pretending that it doesn't exist. And Charlotte's like, oh my God, is that her? And he's like, yes, it is. And she's like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. And he tells her, let's get out of here because it's a little uncomfortable talking about my dead wife on a date. And Charlotte is buying this crap. Now, again, I know this guy is hamming it up for the camera and, for us to believe that this guy's a jerk, but I would have liked for him not to ham it up and be so obvious to us, to be surprised when it happens, what happens. So as they're walking the streets at night, he starts to blurt out and he starts crying. And Charlotte is like, what's wrong? He goes, oh my God. And he starts blowing his nose as she gives him a tissue. And after he blows his nose, he wipes his eyes with the freaking tissue. How more disgusting was that? I'm sorry, but I noticed that. I was like, ew, you blow your nose into the tissue and then you wipe your eyes? He's like, I'm just feeling so many things right now. Could you be? He did a good job faking it. And any real New Yorker, if that was really what he was doing, would have noticed, but like, dude, stop, really, for real, stop. Now you're just hamming it up and you're pissing me off. But no. Charlotte, it's like, she was so excited to hear how sensitive he was, and it was music to her ears. Oh my God. So they start to kiss in the middle of the street. And apparently, kissing turns into what Ned needed was only 45 minutes. As they pan around, they see a picture of the dead wife, and then you see Ned getting his rocks off twice as they narrate Carrie. And I'm just looking at this. I'm like, didn't you just meet this guy? Are you already in bed with him? And Carrie's narrating, under the watchful eye of his dead wife, Charlotte resuscitated him. Who did this happen to in the writer's room again? Because I have never dated a widower. That's all I'm going to keep saying. I don't know if it's customary that you still have your dead wife picture while you're having sex with somebody else that you just met. Charlotte, you really couldn't see any of this? None of this seemed odd to you? This is what I'm saying. It's like you just met this guy. You're jumping into bed with him because you're fantasizing that you're going to be the next wife. Boundaries. Next up, we get to see the full girth of Samantha going from A-list to get off the island list, and the repercussions that she must endure for allowing Dick to grope her. Stay tuned. Subscribe. The Fifth Lady, New York City, Central Park, my favorite place in New York City. It is really top tier. That's how the scene opens. As Charlotte Carrie and Miranda are walking through the main corridor of Central Park. Most beautiful location, a little empty for that time, but sure. The next thing that comes out of Miranda's mouth is rebound. And Charlotte naively says, it's not a rebound if she's dead. Carrie agrees. I'm not too sure if that's the case. Again, you can rebound. You can be on a rebound when you lose someone significant and you're just looking to get over that hump. You know what I'm talking about. So Charlotte is naively talking about the fact that, she feels that it was a sign from his dead wife because her hat flew right onto her headstone. And Miranda's like, yeah, she's like more telling you, stop effing my husband, you hat-loving biatch. Carrie's like, so how is the sex? And she goes, it's amazing. It's like she was looking over us, giving her the approval. What? The fantasy land that Charlotte lives on is one hell of an island or land. She should be on Fantasy Island. The plane. Stop. Ned apparently has invited her to a memorial service next week for his wife at the same site of where all this minutia started. Carrie's like, oh, I didn't know it was that fashionable to do that. And I'm thinking, here we go. The next scene is Carrie is getting ready for her date with Mr. Big. And she's nervous. And she's thinking that, why is she so nervous? Because he broke your heart. And she's contemplating that maybe Charlotte was right. Maybe, people do need people and, maybe you can resuscitate a relationship or blah, 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 blah. You're doing it wrong. Period. God. She's on the date with Big. Very comfortable in a beautiful restaurant. And they're flirting again. And I literally don't even understand what's the conversation that's happening because all I keep thinking is like, what are you doing, Carrie? What you doing? And this is back in 1999 because remember, I still don't know the full girth of this relationship. I just keep thinking, oh my God, we're going down this rabbit hole again. Oh my God. She asks him, do you believe in death? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, do you? She goes, I believe that we become reincarnated. Okay. I wonder what she will be reincarnated as if that was the case. You know why. Suddenly, they start getting closer and closer and getting too close for comfort. Okay? And he's like, what would you come back as reincarnated? She goes, someone that knows better. Really? Are you sure, Carrie? And she's like, and do you believe in heaven? He goes, yes. And he says, I believe that when you go to heaven, there's a big bed, and if someone just says, come on in, don't worry, you'll find out in 22 years. Mr. Big. She's like, you believe in a big bed? He goes, yes. And she's like, I'm not going to sleep with you. He goes, I know, we're just having dinner. Half hour later, they're in Big's apartment in the doorway, and they're smooching. And Carrie's narrating that here I am again in Big's apartment, the place where so much hell that she went through, and that everything feels wrong. You think, Carrie? And he's like trying to get it on, and she's like, no, we can't. And she runs out. And I have to say, I was like, good for you, Carrie. You're self-aware back then. I said, is it over? Is she going to stop? No, of course not. She is running around in her mind saying that she doesn't know what just happened. All she knows is that the first time she got out of the relationship with Big, she barely made it. And can she go into it again a second time and make it out again? Yeah. Okay. We all know what happens, right? Mhm. Now we get into poor Samantha. Poor Samantha. She is now part of the D list and she's trying to get into a nightclub. Bouncer says that her name is not on the list. First time she thought it was just a mistake. She is now trying to get a table at a restaurant. And at this point, she thinks that now it's just an unfortunate mistake because the woman says, sorry. And she's like, I'll wait for a table. She goes, I don't think so. The third time, she's trying to get into Javier's house, I guess, fashion show, and she is brutally attacked by the bouncers who, because her name is not on the list and she is now persona non grata, she is whisked away from entering the said fashion show for Javier. I have to say that if I was her, I would have been calling the police. Did you see what they did to her? They attacked her. They attacked her. My Samantha. She's going to have to leave the island. We're not going to have any of that. Okay? But then again, she shouldn't be groping, touching, kissing, feeling up any married men. Playboy, philanthropist, or not. Samantha, you know better. Or I believe you should. No? Okay. Next. We get to see how Miranda is settling in to her new apartment. And all the colorful neighbors in her neighborhood and her cat. Do you like it when I say it low? Or Tito? Miranda and meeting her neighbors and cat chronicles. Poor Miranda is coming out of her new unit and we meet the neighbor who runs up to her and says, are you my new neighbor? And Miranda is so nice. She's like, yes, I haven't exactly moved in yet, but I'm just taking measurements. And she says, oh my God, a young person. It's going to be wonderful to have, to spice things up in the building. The woman is like 400 years old. She's not young herself. What is Miranda going to bring to her table? I ask then and now. And she proceeds to tell Miranda that, Ruthie, the one that was living there before her, lived alone, never married. And hey, did you know that she died in there too? Now, I correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but when you're buying or renting, I think it's buying or either or, isn't there supposed to be a law or something that full disclosure you should be told if someone had passed away in the unit, or is it just when they were murdered in the unit? I should have checked this in Google, but I don't trust Google anymore, so they can tell me whatever the hell I want to think. But if anybody remembers that you're supposed to be told if somebody has died in the apartment, or am I crazy? Please don't go in the comments and tell me I'm crazy. In general, just about this, we all know that I'm loco. Okay, so she says to her that it was a week before anybody realized that she had passed away, and rumor has it that the cat ate half her face. Just you? What the hell? Why would you? And this is why I do not know my neighbors. Not the entire reason, but a big part of it. People don't know when to shut the F up. Seriously. So now poor Miranda is frightened, so she overfeeds her cat, literally, and she decides that she's going to sit down and enjoy a meal in her old apartment, because this is her old apartment, and she's sitting on the kitchen counter eating, I guess, Chinese food, and one of the biggest fears for me in general, a piece of the food gets stuck in her throat. And this poor woman is running around her house, which, by the way, the fact that she didn't fall on her ass was amazing. She is trying to find a way to get this food out of her mouth, and she gives herself the self-Heimlich maneuver. And the thing comes popping out. Full stop. That and falling are one of the main reasons, not all, that I want to move closer to family. Not that it matters that if I'm choking that they would come running for me, but at the end of the day, I have choked, not to that extent where I'm giving myself a self-Heimlich maneuver, and I have fallen, which may explain my herniated discs, but we'll go into that later. But it has happened, and it's one of the most frightening scenarios when you're alone. I'm not going to lie, because there's no cat that's going to call 911 or dog at all. It's pretty sad. Let me know what is your biggest fear about being alone. That's other than ending up alone and not having a significant other, please. I'm talking about accidents. Let me see. I slipped and fell in the tub. And for then, I've always used a bath mat. Never will I ever get into a tub that doesn't have a bath mat. I don't care. If you don't have one, I'm putting a towel on there. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. As far as eating, yeah, that's a difficult one and a scary one. Chew slowly. Just chew slowly. Scared the hell out of me. And I have to remember to learn the Heimlich. Because even just watching that gave me some ideas, but I really want to professionally learn the Heimlich because you just never know. You could be minding your own business and all of a sudden that happens. Now, listen, she calls Carrie in a panic because she figures she can call someone that can commiserate after she saves her own life, as Carrie narrates. And Carrie is screening because Big had called her twice and she didn't want to pick up the phone. She hears Miranda's urgent cry on the answering machine. Oh my God, I almost died and you're not picking up. And then she picked up the phone. She goes, oh my God, honey, are you okay? She goes, no, I almost died. I almost choked to death. I was watching hard copy and my biggest fear is that they were going to find me dead watching bad television. I'm like, that, sure. I don't think that's how it works, but I know she's in a panic mode. Could have been worse. She could have been watching one of those slutty movies. You know, the one they all like to watch together for some strange reason. Now, as Carrie's like, why didn't you call me? Listen, you ding dong. She can't call you when she's choking. She goes, I couldn't breathe. I'm going to die alone. And Carrie's like, you're not going to die alone. If you weren't scared about being alone then, and you're not scared about being alone now, if you're just getting into this series, well, be afraid. The series really harps on this. Now, there are certain things that you should be worried about, but my God. And she's like, do you want me to come over? She goes, no, I'll call you tomorrow. She's in a panic, and I don't blame her because let me tell you something. That scene where her choking lasted more than 30 seconds. And I was in a panic. I was like, oh my God, what is she going to do? Apparently, what she did was she went to bed hungry, as Carrie narrates, and she locked the cat in the kitchen for 2 days. I felt sorry for the cat. Poor cat. At least she overfed it. Jenny, kudos. Good writing again. You scared me and made me laugh at the same time. That's no easy feat. Just saying. Next, we get to see Samantha beg to be out of the D list and into Whoreville. Yeah. I said it. They don't. Our Samantha, who is now trying to resuscitate her D-list status back to A-list, she has decided to go to the Godfather. And the Godfather being Shippy Shipman. Is that a real name? I don't even understand that. Apparently, this woman controls the socialites and is personally responsible for kicking anybody out of it, as well as, you know, the other one, the Cromwell woman, Dick's wife. She's sitting there and she's like, she tells her, Shippy Shipman says, I know you, Samantha. She goes, oh, maybe you know my work at the Javier house. She goes, no, I know you from somewhere else. You're the woman who groped my husband at a benefit. You would think that would tell something to Samantha to run. No, she starts to think in her head of all her sexual past. She's like, you know Sharon Cornwell, right? She goes, yes, we go back to Chapin. The rich elite, they're so annoying. I'm sorry, they are. Then, now, forever. And she's like, could you please put in a good word for me? Why would this woman put a good word in when you groped her husband? Read the room, Samantha. She goes, no, I will not. You made your bed and now you need to lie in it. And you're good at that. Still doesn't get up. This woman doesn't leave. Samantha's desperate. She's like, what do you want me to say? That I'm a whore? That I've slept with every man in New York and some in Brooklyn? I almost died laughing. All I can think of is like, you still have a lot more to go. There's Queens, there's Staten Island, there's the Bronx. Girl, you're not even at the halfway point. I swear to you. Okay. She goes, you want me to say I'm a whore? She's like, now will you help me? I'm like, Samantha, what the hell? Stop it. She's like, no, I will not. She finally had enough, gets up and tells Shippy Shipman, really, the name kills me, that the only reason why she groped her husband, her flat-assed husband, is because she was drunk and she will see herself out. Well, it's about damn time, Samantha. Go for it. What the hell are you doing? I get it. It's PR. She needs to, I understand. Pero coño. At some point, you got to realize this woman was not going to give you what you wanted. So she walks out the door. Good. Next scene we have is Miranda is deciding to take a walk around her neighborhood, West Side. Beautiful neighborhood, by the way. And all of a sudden, everything starts spinning. And I start freaking out. Yeah. I start freaking out, not on the first watch in 1999, because I've watched this series a few times. It happened to me before I decided to get married to the person that I got married to, and I'll explain what happens, why. She realizes that she's getting dizzy and she's about to fall, and she gets into a cab and she goes to Columbia Presbyterian, and Carrie is there, and Miranda is like, oh my God, I felt like I was suffocating and drowning at the same time. And Carrie says, the doctor says that you were having a panic attack. And she says, what's wrong? And this is one of the sincere moments between her and Miranda, which I totally missed between them. And she goes, take a look at me, because at my funeral, I'll be dead. My face will be half eaten off. My cat will be happy. And Charlotte will be picking up a man across the other side of the graveyard. I couldn't stop laughing again. She's right. And Carrie's like, you're not alone. She goes, the only people on my emergency call list are my parents, and I don't like them, and they live in Pennsylvania. She goes, you could always call me. She goes, you scream. She's like, sweetie, I'll pick up. First of all, you're not going to die alone. And we are going to be here for you. And as Carrie narrates, and Miranda's crying, and I felt her, she says, the truth was that she didn't know if any of us were going to end up alone. Just like that. But Miranda could not afford another panic attack. Now, I went through that. I knew exactly what was happening when I saw that scene, because that happened to me when I was about to get back with someone that I thought was the love of my life. And my body rejected everything about it. I went into a panic attack. I was dizzy. I was falling. I went to my doctor and I thought for sure that I had something. I was convinced that I was dying. It was the scariest. And it didn't happen just once. It happened several times and I didn't understand what was going on. My body was like, stop it. Get out. My doctor told me, he just asked me, is everything okay? Because they ran a bunch of tests, stress tests, heart tests, test. And he's like, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, why? He's like, because you had a panic attack. I'm like, a panic attack? I'm like, I'm a single mom in the Bronx, doing it all alone. If I wasn't panicking then, what the hell am I panicking for now? And he goes, did something change in your life? I'm like, yeah, my relationship is getting serious and the guy the dizzy spells happened right there in the doctor's office. Needless to say, I went home that night and I broke it off with the guy the next day because this person was giving me panic attacks. And had I not gone to the doctor and he was transparent with me, I would have never figured out that he was the reason I was having dizzy spells. I was a single mom. I was scared. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. So when I saw that scene, oh my God, did it resonate with me so hard. Next scene you have is now Charlotte is at the memorial service with Ned the widower, and she brought lilies. And she goes up to him and he's like, oh, you brought lilies? He goes, yes, you told me that was her favorite. As he starts to look at her, she turns around and there's 3 limos with 3 different women coming out of it. And Charlotte is like, please tell me those are your sisters. And he says, I don't have any sisters. What? She starts banging on him with the lilies and she realizes that she was not the only one resuscitating Ned. She runs back to her limo with her red bottom shoes, high heels this big, and Carrie narrates that she was ready to live under the guise of a dead wife, but not with 3 live women. Here's my question. Okay? Writers, watchers. How did he think this was going to go? He invited the bevies of other women to the memorial. How is he going to introduce them? Resuscitation number 1, meet resuscitator number 2, 3, and number 4. Are we going to have like a foursome? What was the plan? What was the master plan here? Because he was very, very happy to be okay with all these women showing. And you know what? They all had lilies. This guy was sick. And I have to believe that this was made up or someone actually went through this. And if they did a hell of a job putting this on screen, because not even I would have believed that. I would have been like, no, I need pictures. Because back then we didn't have smartphones. I need proof. Because no one is that so much of an idiot to think that not only are you, I can't even finish the words. Because I don't even understand how any of that was going to work out. Tell me. Tell me how. Tell me, please. Tell me how. Tell me how. Really. Next, we have the conclusions. Because Charlotte ended the relationship right there. Thank God. Now we have the conclusions of the D-lister, the just me, and Mr. Big. Oh God. Not good. They don't. Samantha and her resuscitation off the D-list. I have to say, I was pretty impressed when I saw this because after no one being able to call her, wanting to call her back, and she wasn't able to actually raise any funds for Javier's house, the only thing she can do was hard labor and actually construct Javier's house. I have to tell you, this is the first time that I can recall from any of the ladies that actually did any hard labor work. I mean, this girl was like really into this. When I saw that, I was like, wow, I'm impressed, Samantha. She stuck with this. She was not going to let it go, regardless of the fact that she went in there purposely to get all the unlisted 212 numbers. And at the end of the day, she had to admit that she's a whore and she was not being resuscitated back onto the A-list. She still went ahead and actually did some hard labor. As she's walking or pushing the cart, the dirt cart, I wish I could remember the name of it, she bumps into where Carrie narrates that, what is this? It's supposed to be Leonardo DiCaprio. They couldn't even put his face on there. And that he takes her hand and they become fast friends, and the ex machina, single-handedly put Samantha back into life. That was the worst scene in this entire episode. If you're going to use the name, get the face. This is so stupid, but I appreciated Samantha really sticking through to her word that she was going to do something for Javier's house, regardless of the outcome, which apparently is a dark shaded color of the shadow of Leonardo DiCaprio. What the F? I'm so stupid. Now we have Miranda, who now, because of the loan officer's mistake, put on the paperwork that she was separated, now has to write a scathing letter correcting that she was never she's not married. So if she's not married, she can't be separated. She's having, issues trying to type the word single. And as Carrie narrates, she's like, she has a choice. She could either accept this or move on. So she decided that she is going to type out the words single. Right there and then, she felt empowered and she gave up her panic attacks right there. Good for you. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to be that. The next scene you have with Miranda is that she's walking around her apartment. She opens up the picture of the 4 girls. And I feel like, I guess we're going to get into it. This was not in the Vegas trip that they took to Vegas. So it's one of the old pictures that they had. And she puts it onto the mantle. And she realizes right there that she may not die alone. But she was okay with it. But still, she kept overfeeding her cat. Do you see what's happening here? That's abuse. That is animal abuse. She overfilled the bowl, both of them, the water and the food bowl. Oh my God. Big. Now we're back to Carrie's apartment. And Big decides to show up. She opens the door and he's like, good, you're alive. I guess because she hasn't returned the calls from the last, doorway scenario. He's like, where you going? It's like, home. I'm old. It's past my bedtime. I have to give it to him. He does deliver lines very well. The actor, Chris North, he does. He was funny. And she's like, come here. And he's like, I'm sorry. Yes, you are, Carrie. You're a sorry, sorry girl. He's like, I had box seat tickets to the Yankees game doubleheader. She's like, damn, who'd you take? Someone that returns my calls as he starts digging into her face. Okay. Yankee doubleheader box seats. I could see that getting a little excited. I'm a Yankee fan. I like the Mets too. Don't come at me in the comments. You know who I'm talking about. I can go both ways for a New York team. So they start making out, and as Carrie narrates, we're back here again. A doorway, Big, and confused feelings. I'm like, oh, girl. She says, stop. And he's like, Carrie, don't do this to me again. She's like, we're going out. She takes him to the most unromantic place that she can find. Bowling. Hey, let me tell you something. I love bowling. I'm a nerd. I know. So much so that I used to have my own pink bowling bag, my own pink bowling ball, and my own pink bowling shoes. Yes, I went ham. That is how much I love bowling. I can bowl for hours. Let me know if that's something that you like to. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the excitement of the pins. It's just so, I don't know, enjoyable and relaxing at the same time and challenging. So as they're playing the bowling game, big fear, he says, is that his biggest fear is wearing two-tone rented shoes. And that is why I had my own bowling shoes. Because let me tell you something. Putting my feet in those rented bowling shoes, disgusting. That is probably one of the worst parts of the bowling. And plus, you have to disinfect the bowling ball. That's why I had my own bowling bag. So yeah, I went bowl crazy. So as they're cutely playing the bowling, and she's like, hey, batter, batter, batter. He's like, don't heckle the bowler. I'm like, you know what? This is a cute scene. I'm falling into the trap, people. Get me out. He hits, I think I want to say he hit all the pins, and he's winning. And he's like, do you see the score? And she's like, 2 out of 3. Then he says, oh, really? You want to play another game? You sure you want to get killed again? Yes, she does, Big. In turn, she will murder you later. But you hold on to that thought. Carrie narrates, I don't know what we were talking about, but we weren't talking about bowling. You know what the hell we were talking about, okay? And as they start snuggling their noses together, they start kissing. And that Carrie narrates, we never made it to the second game. You see them in the boudoir of Mr. Big, because that's not Carrie's house. And she says, we never made it to the second game. And I don't know what just happened, but all I know is that it felt so great and I never felt more alive. And our relationship has been resuscitated. Epilogue. Stay tuned. Subscribe. The epilogue. I hope you enjoy these. So, watching this again in 1999 with my friends who were not single, but in miserable relationships, me not getting back with my ex at the time, but understanding the girth of panic attacks, even then when I was watching this, realizing that this episode really focused on being single, married, everything in between, other than what happened with Samantha, because we'll get into that. And not knowing if you're going to end up alone. Let's say it, people. Say it to me together. 1, 2, 3. The last episode of And Just Like That, where Carrie seemingly ends up alone. And when I say seemingly, like I said in my last video, this show could come back. How? No clue. But don't be surprised, because that ending was not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen. Say it with me. Not supposed to happen. I totally believe that they were going to have another series, another episode. Yeah. And she was going to end up with either the Hobbit, Duncan, or some other sucker she was going to find along the way. But there was no plan for Carrie to end up alone. But looking at this and bringing in the fear of God, of singledom, and not being able to buy without having to be interrogated about where your funds are coming, and it's just you, I really felt like this was not just a throwback even in 1999. I just felt that women have come so far, and I thought we came a lot further in 1999, and I am not sure if this still happens now. And the whole dynamic structure about renting versus buying and, emasculating men, it's not to say that that's not true. There are many men who feel that way. Whether that man is right for you, that's your choice, right? If that's how you feel, Charlotte, and if you feel more empowered, Samantha, and you feel like it's wronged you, Miranda, Carrie, I don't know where she stands with this, because I don't understand how she makes money. Let's just put it that way. I have no clue how or where she's getting her funds. So she's not even in the picture. I just know that she falls ass backwards into money all the time, and men who cook for her. It really irritates me, that. Okay? The psychological effects of this series, as we delve more into it, scares people. But I say again, it brings the conversation to the forefront. Because as my friends inevitably end up leaving their significant others and becoming single, which is what I was before I got married. Ironically, I got married after my two friends became single. I just realized that. So we were never all single at the same time. But I saw the pain and suffering that they went through. I saw the shock of being at their age, being afraid of being alone after their relationships. And I saw ended and the descent of stupid choices that, again, we all make, because I almost made a stupid choice and my body said, "What are you doing, Lena? What you doing? What you doing?" But at least I had the subconsciousness to tell myself, stop it. They didn't. No matter how much I bitched, moaned, screamed, and jumped in, because part of this is the show. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it goes to show that they weren't afraid to take writing choices. And Jenny Bix did a good job, highlighting some of the wrongness of scenarios and empowering them at the end, at least for Miranda. Samantha was a little quirky. I felt that, she reaped what she sowed. You grope a married man, you get thrown down the tunnel. I don't care how much money he has. Don't do it. I know it has happened. Trust me. Though I have never knowingly been with a married man. Knowingly. Because I go back to, did you see what happened with Ned, the widower? There's a lot of men like that out there. I personally have never met them because I wouldn't have taken it so far from when the hat fell onto the headstone. But that's me, right? And just like that, that whole dynamic, at the very minimum, I felt, and this is one good thing about And Just Like That, literally, at least everyone was able to feel secure enough to buy their own places. Like what happened with Miranda trying to get the loan or trying to get the mortgage for her new unit didn't happen when Carrie decided to give up her apartment and she found the Gramercy Park townhouse. None of that was in play. She was able to be just her and buy it, though with Big's money, but doesn't matter, right? So at least we jumped ahead and that didn't happen. But that's one good thing, that ironically the show didn't make people and women feel less empowered because it was just them in the buying power. The whole relationship structure, because again, Carrie falls ass backwards in these convoluted relationships, even at her age, which, it's not even a factor, but it's not real in the way that they portrayed it. Let's get real. You all know that it was BS. Okay. And the fact that, Miranda doesn't end up alone and she's going to be a grandmother, though we'll never see, at least according to what I believe, what transpired there. Right. And we don't know about Samantha other than she calls in every once in a while, once, and texts from London. We don't know her relationship status. I'm presuming that she's either in some sort of relationship or single. I can tell you from watching And Just Like That, it didn't make me feel bad to be single, except for the way that SJP, Michael Patrick King, Carrie wrote the whole scenario after Big's death. Other than that, the other women, Charlotte Eds end up married because her kids are a mess. I didn't feel the angst of being alone. I felt the angst of aging. The focus on the aging and what we should look like, what I would say the clothes they were wearing were outrageously ugly for women of that stature and that beauty, because beauty does come from within as well. And I feel that as Carrie gets further into the series, the movies, and then Just Like That, her narcissism and the way that she thinks that the world revolves around Carrie and her heels, they did not age gracefully. I'm sorry. I really feel bad for anyone that maybe differ in my opinion. When you look at Golden Girls and you look at it Just Like That, their focuses on storylines were so different. I can watch Golden Girls today and still resonate with them and cry and laugh and feel proud to be the age I am now and the age I will be coming into in the next 10, 20 years. I watch And Just Like That, I want to throw myself out the window. I really do. I really, really do. Because it didn't have any hope at all. I cannot be the only one that feels this way. So the connection between the two, very polarizing. Back then, they wrote it with some sort of clarity and some sort of hope that there is a future. And Just Like That, it's a future I don't want to be in. I'd rather live like the Golden Girls any day of the week before I even think about rewatching And Just Like That. That's my epilogue. Listen, tell me how you felt. So I'm sorry I couldn't do a mid-week upload. I had gotten extremely busy. I don't know if I can do midweeks. I could do definitely 2 a week. So look forward to that. And I want to hear how you felt about this. Thank you all for all your beautiful comments, your views, your reviews, your shares, everything. You know how much I appreciate you and love you all. And I want to wish you a very, very blessed week, weekend, day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. I want to send you my love from all the way from here to every parts of the country that I'm reaching. Thank you. Goodbye. Mwah.